All right, so welcome everyone to Life of a SWE Student. I'm here today to give you guys insights on what it's like to be a software engineering student today in Montreal, I guess, because that's what I know. SWE you'll see thrown around a lot. Basically, it just means software engineering. It could also be written like this, software engineering. So you'll see both connotations around. This is more seen in the workplace, and SOEN is more seen in school. And so it just means software engineering. And so, well, I'll go through the agenda right away. First of all, we're going to have an introduction, just like the agenda we're doing right now, who I am, then what it's like to do software engineering in school, then the importance of learning more than what you learn at school, because you don't want to just be that cookie cutter software engineer that comes out of school. The importance of the community when you're in software engineering, and then we'll end with an ask me anything. And actually, I would urge you guys to, if you have any questions, just write them in the workshop chat, or literally cut me off when I'm just done a sentence or something and ask the question. I really don't mind. I'll answer any questions. I want to be interactive, so you guys can ask whatever you want. So a little bit about myself. My name is Nicolas MacBeth. Right now, I'm a software engineering intern at Google. I study software engineering at Concordia University. I'm supposed to graduate in May of 22, if everything goes well with my math classes, which are extremely difficult for me. I'm in the co-op program, so a little more about that later, but the co-op program basically enables you to, instead of doing nothing during the summers or finding your own job, co-op will actually place you or help you find jobs to get internships during those summers or during those like semesters where you're not actually studying. And that could be really beneficial to get experience and stuff like that. Formerly, I was a full stack application developer intern at Dynamically. So Dynamically is a pretty small startup in Montreal that they do really cool things. They do interactive experiences, will it be through voice, through AI, through a bunch of stuff. So they're a small AI company that do really cool interactive experiences for their clients. It could be in retail, it could be in pharma, it could be anything. So I was doing really cool stuff over there. I've participated in many hackathons. I'm going to talk about hackathons later and their importance as a software engineering student. I won at Hack Harvard 2019, McHack 7, a couple other ones. I also won the Young Entrepreneur Award from Startup Canada, and I had the first place win at Dobson Practicum 2019. If anyone's curious about what those things are, I can talk about them and how they play into just building your CV and building like your connections and stuff like that to land the best jobs and to further yourself in your software engineering career. I also mentored at many hackathons, so Hack the North 2019, Conyu Hacks, and others. And I can also talk a little bit about my early days. So basically, I went to a small high school called Collège Charlemagne in the west of Montreal, where they had absolutely no technology. But I've always loved technology, as probably many of you do. And I was always playing around with settings, and stuff like that. And so the natural step after just loving technology and loving gadgets to me was to go into software engineering at school. And so I'll talk a little more about what that entails in the next slide. So what do we learn at school when you study software engineering? And first of all, I'm going to talk in context of what I learned at Concordia University, which is a university here in Montreal. If you guys are not from Montreal, Canada, I think, and I'm pretty sure that what you learn in other places is very similar. There are maybe notification. Nice. Hold on, let me put. I gotta do some updates. Okay. So yeah, what was I saying? Basically, what you'll learn in different schools is probably the same or very similar in the sense that you might learn a different specific language, or you might have a different way of learning it, but all the concepts and the high level understandings that you need to make are going to be very similar from school to school or curriculum to curriculum. So the software engineering comprises of three main things, at least at Concordia. So there's the computer science core. which is learning all the things that pertain specifically to computer science. In this case, I'll run down a little bit through these. So first of all, at the very early stages, you're going to learn a lot about object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming is a paradigm of programming where there's classes and polymorphism and inheritance and all these things that you're going to learn about. And it's a way to organize your code base and your entire infrastructure for like a very large application or a very large company of how they organize their code. And traditionally, it's been like the go-to for a lot of companies. It is a little less popular today. There are different ways of doing things now, but schools still teach it, obviously, because as you know, schools are very slow at upgrading, if you will, and at changing their curriculums. But it's still very much used today, so it's a very good learn, and you'll probably use it in your life. And that will be done with one language like Java, Python, C#. And no matter the language, all you're going to learn in those classes, if it's the first time that you're coding, it's basic syntax, first of all, and those high level concepts I was talking about before, where you will be able to take those concepts and convert them to other languages or other systems and be able to give the same great results. So whether it be Java, Python, or C#, it doesn't really matter. The differences are minor, and there's small syntactic differences. Then, to me, the most important class in the entire software engineering computer science core would be, guys, do you mind muting you guys? Like, not to be rude, but just sometimes I hear feedback and stuff like that. Thank you. Appreciate it. But if you want to cut me off, go ahead. Questions, anyone? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So data structures and algorithms is probably the most important class you're going to learn in school, because it's data structures are basically ways of storing data that will enable you to do things. Like, I know that's really large in computer science, but data structures are the way you will manipulate and hold data as you're manipulating it. And those algorithms are the ways and the different conventions that you use to manipulate that data. And a lot of those conventions come around when you're coding every day, different things. And so that's a very important class, and it's going to help you no matter what language your teacher's actually teaching it in. Those higher level concepts, like I was saying before, it's all about those higher level concepts and that understanding. You're going to take those and you're going to apply them in real life. So the key takeaway actually that I want you guys to have from almost this whole presentation is software engineering is not about learning by heart. Almost anything you learn by heart, because software engineering is such a moving scene and everything changes and there's new technologies coming out every year. You can be using Angular 1 year and then the next year the new version of Angular comes out and finally it's deprecated and you need to completely upgrade your code base. So the thing you need to learn in software engineering is learning how to learn. I know it sounds like super cliche, but you really need to be able to adapt to new technologies and understand the high level concepts that come back from year to year and project to project, so that you can apply them with any specific technology that you're using. So you'll be learning algorithms in data structures and algorithms. Then operating systems is a pretty cool class. Basically, it teaches you how your operating system, so Windows, Mac, Unix, Linux, all those work, and how processes work, file managers, how RAM works, and allocating memory and stuff like that. I personally love these classes. So that was really cool. You'll also learn about system hardware. So system hardware is the lower level. So how a CPU functions, how registers function, bits, ones and zeros, basically at a basic level, how computers work. And actually in this class, we got to build a computer, a really stupid and not very smart computer that was basically a 4-bit computer, which is not very powerful and can barely do anything. But it teaches you the basics with pure electrical components of how to build a computer. Because I heard this once when I was learning software engineering. It's hard to remember when you're using a computer and you're doing Photoshop and Discord and all these really complicated things, but a computer is literally a rock, like a bunch of minerals that we put together and we force to think with electricity. It's pretty crazy how it works. So bringing it back to basics really gives a good overview and a good understanding of what happens under the hood in your computer. We also did some web development. Web development is probably the easiest thing to get into because the languages are usually higher level, and they're closer to English language. And so web development was lots of fun. you'll also very heavily learn about the SOEN life cycle. So the software engineering life cycle. So testing, validation, design, writing requirements, going to the client, making sure that those requirements are okay, starting your development, doing changes to your design, all these things, all that life cycle from an idea to the actual product being released in alpha, beta, general access, stuff like that. You're going to cover all of that, and it's very important in the school curriculum, obviously. And these may be the classes where you're less interested in stuff like that. Well, actually, a lot of people can love that because there's a lot of PMs, project managers that really enjoy this. I personally enjoy this a little less, but it's really important to learn to be able to plan ahead and to know what uh, big companies tend to do when they want to launch a product. You're also going to learn a lot about older languages and different programming paradigms. Um, I don't know how useful that is, honestly. They're some of them are fun, depends on the teacher. You'll learn about old weird languages like Lisp and stuff. Like Lisp is a language where you can code Lisp that will code more Lisp that will code more Lisp. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyways, you'll learn about weird old languages and how they work, and these are fairly important to get a better understanding of lower level languages and just how the languages we use today came to be. And then a lot more classes. I just didn't have any more space in my list, but you're probably going to go over a UI class, a testing class, because it's very important to unit test or to integration test and stuff like that. Databases class, so like redundancy and ACID and all those compliance standards and stuff like that. So that's going to be a very important class because you're most probably going to work with databases in your life, and obviously security because you need infosec, information security, in your code. So that's one and the biggest component of the software engineering um, curriculum that you're going to do in school. Then there's going to be the engineering core. So the engineering core is just the core classes that anyone that wants to be an engineer will accomplish. So it's basically the extra math classes. So I have 4 extra math classes actually at Concordia specifically, like differential equations, another calculus, quantitative methods, and like stats and stuff. And you're going to have a bunch of ethics and writing classes. So basically, can you be a proper engineer and communicate your thoughts? And obviously, as an engineer, you have responsibilities towards the society and stuff like that. If you're writing a massive software that's controlling a dam, like a water dam, like hydro, oh my god, what's the word? Hydro Quebec. Like if your code fails and suddenly the water opens loose and it floods all of Montreal, like some people are going to have a bad day. So you have responsibilities towards everyone else, because even if you're a software engineer and like it seems like, oh, it's not a real engineering because you're not working with actual physical parts, there are some systems that are extremely critical, and so there's obviously some ethics that come into that. And then you top it off with a capstone project. I know capstone projects are extremely popular in multiple schools. So it's basically like a 1 year long project where you team up with an actual real world company like Deloitte, Google, anything, and basically your class is to work for them for free. Like it's not an internship, but you build something for them, and that's your project, and you're graded on that, on how well you done and how if you were doing your work on time week to week and stuff like that. So that's basically what the software engineering curriculum looks like. If you go in computer science, usually you only do this and you have a capstone. So you just delete the engineering core out of it. But there is still some maths. It's usually different maths, and usually you can pick the maths that you want to do. You just have to do math. And I mean, I don't know how true this is, and like I don't know if it's true at all actually, but people seem to say that you go into computer science if you want to continue your studies and maybe do a master's or a PhD and like specialize in AI and stuff like that, and then you do software engineering if you kind of want to go to work right away. Honestly, I think you can do both. So it's up to you if you want to do the extra mile to get your engineering ring, because the rest, for the actual computer science part, there isn't much of a difference between software engineering and computer science. You just do a little bit more extra stuff as an engineer if you get a bachelor of engineering. Any questions, anyone? I'm just going to drink some water. Alrighty, good stuff. Either I'm being clear or you're all bored out of your minds. So, extra learning in software engineering. Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of software engineers. A lot of people are signing up now, especially because it's the go-to. If you don't know what to do, your parents will probably tell you, "Oh, you want to make money, just go into software engineering," even if you don't know what to do. There are a lot of software engineers, and so learning outside of school is extremely important. So everyone that's here today in the call, this makes me very proud because you're already taking the first step into learning outside of school. And even if you're by the way, everything I say pertains to even if you're not majoring in software engineering or computer science, and you're doing literally anything else, political science, business, anything, and you're going out of your way to learn to code, I think that's great, and I think it's going to be very important in the future. And I've had tech leads in the past that have been political science majors. Like, you can learn absolutely everything you want on your own and outside of school, which is the beauty of software engineering. So all I'm saying is that learning outside of school is extremely important. And what that'll do is that will put you on the map for prospective employers. Um, because everyone that's coming out of school and that has done the exact same school curriculum usually um, will, sorry, just because I read the question, what does it mean to be a cookie cutter student? So what I personally mean by cookie cutter student, um, it's someone that will do the absolute basic minimum at school and will not do anything else outside of school. So, not true. So you can do extra stuff in school, but um, if you just do your school curriculum, you get in school, you leave, and that's it. That's going to be the cookie cutter student. And there's a lot of people that do that, and employers really don't look at grades for software engineers, by the way. Maybe your parents are going to hate me for saying this, but your grades really aren't that important. Once you've gone into university, obviously if you're at CGEP and or in high school and you need to get into another school, like you'll need good grades, but once you're in, you like get good grades, get like okay, good grades, but honestly, I would put most of your time into learning outside of school, doing projects and stuff like that. So why is that important? It's because there's so many software engineers and a lot of concepts in software engineering. While you can ace a test, it doesn't necessarily mean you understood those concepts and you're able to apply them in a real world setting. And how will an employer know in between you and the other student next to you that got 5% more um, in every single test? They won't look at your grades. Actually, a lot of big companies like recently have even said that you don't even need a software engineering bachelor to get a job there. You just need to show them that you're good. Sorry, I'm just gonna drink more water. My throat is killing me. So the key to success in software engineering is learning outside of school, like I like I keep on saying, and working on projects and doing things like hackathons and learnathons. So basically, step one is where you are today. So either you're listening to me right now because you're not sure you want to do software engineering, or you're just listening to me to know like how it is as a software engineer at school. Either way, just because you're going out of your way to understand and learn more, that's already a great first step, but you need to bring it a step further and continue this all throughout your university like curriculum. So there's multiple ways for you to go above and beyond the school curriculum. There's things like hackathons. So hackathons to me are one of the absolute best ways to learn more. So if you don't know what a hackathon is, it's basically 24 hours or like 36 18 hours where you go to a school or a venue or anything, and like if you never heard of hackathons, sometimes the idea sounds a little whack, but it's literally a full 24 hours or 36 hours where you don't sleep. Well, you can choose to sleep, but usually you don't sleep and you just code. You just code an application, you code a project, you code a game, you code anything you want, and then at the end of those 36 hours you go before judges and you try to win that competition. And so it's overnight most of the time. Sometimes they're only in the daytime, but like there's 36-hour ones where literally for 36 hours you will not sleep, and you will, trust me, you will drink a lot of coffee and you will go a little crazy, but it's such a great experience because you told yourself, it's been months or weeks, that look, this 24 hours or these 36 hours I am cutting off my schedule. None of my friends are going to talk to me. I'm not going to talk to any of my friends. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to do anything else, watch Netflix or anything. And I'm just going to code. And what's really cool about that is that you tell yourself, you come up with an idea in the first hours, and then let's say you want to make a web app that's like, let's say you want to make Uber, like an alternative of Uber, something that looks like Uber. You're going to need to learn every single technology or every single tool that is going to make you build that Uber prototype in 36 hours. Obviously, your product's never going to be perfect. Like, things that come out of there are always broken and they only work for the demos and stuff like that. But first of all, this breeds really good ideas in startups. A lot of startups have come out of hackathons. And second of all, you're setting away 36 hours of time to code and to learn these different technologies and to hack away at something. And that's really good, because let's say you told yourself you'll do 2 hours a week. That's, wow, I can't math, but that's like half a year worth of those 2 hours a week. In one weekend, you're doing a lot of learning and a lot of new technologies that maybe in school you wouldn't, well, that in school you probably would not have learned, and that you probably wouldn't have learned anywhere else. And so you're putting that time aside to just build and code. So I think hackathons are a great way to get ahead. I've gone to many hackathons. That's where I personally learn the most, because you go in, you tell yourself, okay, I have nothing to lose. Even if I don't present, or I do present and it sucks, who cares? I'm going to learn what I want to learn this weekend. Do I want to use TensorFlow to make an artificial intelligence model to detect cancer in these pictures? Okay, I can do that. Do I want to make a web app? I can do that. Do I want to make a game? I can do that, because you have so much time to learn, and you have so many mentors also. A lot of mentors and people that work at a bunch of these companies like Microsoft, Google, and all that, and they're there to help you to use their tools, use their APIs. So it's a perfect spot to learn. Okay, so I highly suggest going to hackathons. And you'll also create a dev post account, which is a spot where all of your projects, you kind of present your projects there, and all your projects live in one spot. It's like the Facebook of hackathons. That's what a dev post is. And as you build your dev post, you're kind of building your portfolio to be able to put on your CV and then show employers like, hey, like the first internship you're going to get is going to probably be the interview is going to be a little bit technical, but it's also going to be like, hey, talk to me about this project you did at that hackathon, or talk to me about this project you did. And that also comes into play with personal projects. So when I say hackathons, I'm stressing the importance of personal projects, and hackathons are just a great time to do a personal project. You put 36 hours aside and you just hack away at your personal project. That's like working 2 hours a week for 6 months on that same project, and it's all condensed. You don't need to like every week kind of remember what you did last week. It's a really good condensed time to learn. And obviously you should make a GitHub account for you to keep track of all your projects and your repositories and stuff like that. Another great place to learn is Learnathon. That was my Québécois voice coming out. Learnathons. So Learnathons are great places to learn, because just as Steven is doing right now with Curious and all the other people organizing this, it's honestly a great way where people are literally throwing free information at you for you to learn. So all you need to do is just open your ears, open your brain, and just like take in all that information. And it's more spread out. So that's also another alternative to hackathons, where you have more spread out and you can still live your life and see your friends. And that's obviously a very good alternative to the more extreme version of that, which is 36 hours of pure learning. But these are both great ways to learn and work on personal projects. I see there's a question. Difference of working at a startup and a tech giant like Google, like the work culture environment. I'm actually going to cover that a little later when I'm talking about internships. But thanks for the question. I'll if I don't answer it, you'll let me know. Other great place to learn is LeetCode. You've probably heard of it. Wow, it's so dry in my room. LeetCodes are basically heavily algorithmic and data structure questions that usually tech interviews. Well, sorry, that was really poor. Okay, so usually for tech internships or tech like just jobs, full-time jobs at Google, Microsoft, or any other tech coding job, you will pass through technical interviews. And those technical interviews will be on algorithms and data structures and sometimes design questions. And a great place to practice those are LeetCode. Okay, as you grow into the software engineering community, you'll see that leak code is thrown absolutely everywhere, and you need to practice some of those to get used to nailing those interview style questions to be able to get those really cool jobs. Internships. All right. So I thought that was on the next slide, so I could have just answered your question. My bad. So internships, and the co-op program actually. So a lot of universities have a co-op program, like I was saying before. It's basically work and then learning, work, learning, work. You kind of alternate that within semesters. And internships are an incredibly great way to learn because as software engineers, people are looking to hire all the time. Okay, if your major is somewhere else, like business or like mechanical engineering, like I'm not hating on those fields at all. It's actually like we're kind of lucky because it's so much harder for them to get internships. Us as software engineers, we get internships really easily, and it's an absolutely great way to learn because not only do you get that coding experience, you get mentors basically with you every day, 9 to 5, all the time, because your manager is a great person to ask questions to, and you get a really good view of what it looks like to work at this or that company. And so that kind of ties in Jake the Dogo's question, what's the difference between working in a startup and a tech giant like Google? And so both experiences are great. Obviously, working at Google is the absolute dream, and you get all the incredible internal tools and the swag and all the sick people that talk to you and all the sick people you can talk to and stuff like that. So that's really cool. But the startup experience is honestly great, and I recommend everyone does the both, at least to know what they prefer or to live both. So the startup experience is different in the sense that you'll be given a lot more responsibility, and let's say you'll be given an entire project from start to finish. That's your baby, and you need to finish it because, like, as an intern over there, you're maybe 1 out of the 10 employees, so you're treated like an employee, and you need to deliver, okay? Because what you're doing is most probably going to be shipped to the client like next week. It's not where they're not kidding it around. They're treating you like an employee. So what you're doing is very impactful in that sense because what you're working on is a major part of what the entire startup is working on. And then on the other hand, when you work at a company like Google, first of all, you have the perks and everything that go with working at a tech giant, but the scope of your work usually is smaller and you have a little less liberty and stuff like that because there's a bigger management chain and more overhead and stuff like that. But your impact is still compensated because it's such a massive company, and even if you do something with a smaller scope, that smaller scope is impacting so many more users. Like in the case of Google, every line of code I'm writing I know is going to be run for millions of users, and so your impact is kind of compensated in that way, if that makes any sense. But the culture, honestly, because of COVID, I'm working from home, so it's kind of difficult to tell you about the culture. At a startup, at least at the startup I worked at, like there aren't many people, right? So you become close friends with the people you're working with. I guess it's the same at a big company, but different in the sense that I'll probably become friends with the other interns instead of friends with everyone. I was friends with my tech lead and friends with absolutely everyone in the office, and so yeah. But on the culture side, honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you as much because I'm doing it from home and I'm not in the office, which kind of sucks. I don't get the free food that Google gives, but that's a first world problem that is not very important. But it's been great up to now, and they have really cool internal tools and stuff like that. So Google has been honestly super cool. And at least I'm lucky enough to actually keep my internship because a lot of people lost their internships. And then the last thing I have to say about going above and beyond school is to create a LinkedIn. Connect. That's the best way to connect with recruiters, connect with other software engineering students, find out about workshops, find out about different events happening, find out about job openings, internship openings, stuff like that. So you need to network and you need to add connections. Well, obviously, don't add absolutely everyone, but it's a good way to build up your network and have connections in the future if you need help to get an internship or stuff like that. Alex, how do you lose an internship? Is it because you messed up or you can't keep up? I haven't heard of many people that have lost internships. Um, what I was saying before, what I was referring to was because of COVID, because of coronavirus. There's a lot of people that lost their internships just because the companies were like, we can't do this. We don't know how to work with a work from home model with interns. Like it was a lot of work for Google to switch it all to work from home. They have like 3,000 interns per year. Um, actually 2,000 interns per year. And so yeah, I was talking about COVID-19. But I mean, I guess you can get fired within your 3-month internship. You probably have to do something pretty bad, but yeah, no, I've never heard of someone actually losing their internships other than extraordinary circumstances like COVID. And the last thing I've talked to talk about is about the community. So in software engineering, like as you guys can see, it's such a massive community and such a like you guys are right now are on a learnathon where people are learning. I'm speaking. I'm giving back to you guys. Like honestly, small secret between me and you, Steven is absolutely not paying me. I'm doing this for free. And my point being, I just love like teaching what I know. And I gave one of the second workshop where it was more technical, and I can give technical workshops, and I really like giving back to the community because I know that when I was learning, I was asking questions and being taught stuff by people, and so I'm giving back, and that's a huge driving force in the coding communities that absolutely everyone likes to give back, and there really aren't many players in the game that are super closed in and that don't want to like teach you what they know or give you their software and stuff like that. And so that's where open source software comes in. A lot of no worries, Stephen. I was just making a joke. Anyways, open source software is extremely important because tools that you use every single day, like TensorFlow and Angular and React and all these different things, are open source, and a lot of people will use those tools. Like millions and millions of people use those tools, and so like my point is that open source is so important that you can tell that giving back to the community is something the software engineering community does. And so you'll always be able to learn from people around you, people working on repos, and you yourself can contribute to those open source softwares. So you can go to React.js, you can see they have a bunch of issues. You can go on TensorFlow, you can see they have a bunch of issues. And so all these things, you can go and help them, and they'll appreciate your help. Obviously, they might roast your PR if it's your first PR ever and you're working on a massive project like React.js. But since you can use all those softwares, it's good for you yourself to give back to the community. And also, my point is that you can ask the community for help, and they all the time will help you. Like, it's insane how you can just, let's say you're using a tool, let's say React.js, and you're getting a weird error. You can find the Slack or Gitter or Discord, the official one for React.js, or file an issue directly on GitHub, and you'll always get someone to help you. Like no one owes you absolutely anything, but people will always come to help you because they want you to learn and they want you to use their product to build incredible things. I wouldn't be where I am today without using tools that were built by open source, by other people, by companies that want to make them open source. And so you need to give back to the community in that sense, and also the community is there to help you. And also, I find it important to just make friends with other people in software engineering. It's really fun to share and throw ideas around and bounce ideas off each other. So friends in the software engineering community is very good, and also mentors. So you can find someone that, let's say you have a question on the project you're working on Saturday mornings and you don't know how to do it. You can find someone that's a mentor. Your mentor can also be your friend. I had a very smart friend. Well, sounds like he's dead. I have a very smart friend that at the beginning I considered my mentor. He would help me very much, and I didn't know as much as him, as I quickly learned. And yeah, that was great. So like, find yourself a mentor. They're everywhere. They're willing to help, and a lot of people, you can just ask questions out of the blue, or you can schedule a call. They'll help you either on the technical side or on the people side. There's really lots of opportunities out there for you to learn more. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say. A key takeaway here would be to work on your own projects, or go to hackathons, or go to learnathons and stuff like that, to put that on your CV, okay? First of all, you'll get better at coding by doing all those things. And second of all, you'll be able to put these things on your CV for the employer to look, oh, so I have candidate A that got A's in university, and candidate B that got B's in his university curriculum, but he worked on this project. He created a little AI that detects pictures of cats, and he worked on this. So as the employer, I know, okay, this person has probably played around with Git, so he knows how to use Git, the version control system. He has worked with Heroku, so he knows how to deploy an application to the cloud. He's worked with TensorFlow, so he knows how to use a library. He's worked with I don't know, Twilio, so he knows how to use APIs. And so he's the only way for an employer to tell if you're good is to see your work. Your grades honestly really don't mean much. And so work on stuff and learn on your own time and be curious. Haha, I'm totally not making a play of words with the company we're working on right now, but not the company, sorry, like the organization. Um, but yeah, so just I can't stress it enough. Work on personal projects and go to hackathons and go to learnathons and stuff. Okay, let me look at the questions. Um, Hi, were you new to coding before you entered software? So, I personally was not. I started fairly young teaching myself and with sorry, I'm not sure if I said the question out loud. It says, "Were you new to coding before you entered software?" I personally was not new to coding when before I entered software engineering. I kind of started Sec 3, Sec 4, Sec 5. So how old is that? Like maybe 15, something like that. Um, because yeah, 14, 15. Because I've always loved computers and I was really interested by code. But and that obviously gives an edge if you are already good in coding before you go into software engineering. It gives an edge because there's a lot of the concepts that you already understand, so when the teacher is teaching them you can kind of understand the higher level of those concepts or like more in depth. But regardless, if you have no coding background and you go into software, it is absolutely fine. 100%. My girlfriend actually is in software engineering and has had no experience in coding before. As long as you, like I'm saying, you don't stick to the cookie cutter student and you do your projects on the side and you learn and you're curious, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're going to kill it. Okay. So even if you're new to software, it's a super approachable field because all the tools are there to help people that don't know how to do stuff, first of all. And second of all, you have so many opportunities to learn and stuff like that. So you really don't need to need to know how to code before you enter software. But personally, I did. Actually, when I was fun fact, I was when did GTA come out? 2013. That's 7 years ago. Anyways, in 2013, when GTA came out, I like with the help of like an app builder thing online, I created a GTA 5 cheats app because like you probably know what Grand Theft Auto cheats are, and it was the most simple app in the world. It was super stupid. It just had the cheats. It was like a text file, but I made an app and put it on the Play Store, like the Android Play Store, and I got 100,000 downloads. That was a highlight of my year. 100,000 downloads, and then I got taken down for copyright because I was using the PlayStation icon and the Xbox icon. It was pretty funny. You would search GTA 5 cheats, and I was the first app there. It was lots of fun. All right, Steven, should I focus on learning tools or the fundamentals of coding, data structures, algorithms to increase my chance of getting internships as a CEGIP student? Um, that's a tricky one. Honestly, they're as important in the sense. Okay. Um, I would say the fundamentals of coding, so data structures and algorithms, are more important in the sense that those are the high level concepts that will come back the most. But obviously, employers look for if you know how to use those tools, like different tools or APIs and libraries and stuff like that. So that's a really good question. I would say they're equally important in the sense that data structures and algorithms, you can practice a lot to get better, but at least understand the fundamentals of them. So start understand the fundamentals of them, where get to the point where you can like, oh, I should be using a stack here, and then you kind of forget how to implement a stack. But so you could just Google it, but as soon as you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what a stack is. Like just understanding the high level concepts of which data structure or which algorithm to use where. So I would say that. So focus first on the basic fundamentals of data structures and algorithms without becoming an expert or even very good at them. And then after, since that you'll always have for the rest of your life, those fundamentals, just start learning on tools and then you'll slowly get better at the fundamentals of coding. They're equally important for an internship standpoint. But to me, the most important one are the data structures and the algorithms because those need to be like your heartbeat when you're coding. Those you're not even supposed to be thinking of those. They should be part of your thought process. Like it should be in the back of your mind 24/7. A new tool you can always learn. Okay, you can always learn how to call this function when, or this paradigm of how this tool works. You'll always be able to do that. But those data structures and those algorithms are extremely important. Do you have some resources for hackathons? Yeah, so devpost.com. I'll actually send another one, which is MLH. I don't know what their .io. Okay, so MLH is Major League Hacking. It is the biggest player in hackathons. So basically, what they do is they host hackathons at the biggest universities across Canada and the United States. I'm not sure about other regions of the world. Honestly, you'd have to look up for more local organizers. And so basically, usually how it works is that universities or companies or organizations will organize a hackathon, and MLH will come and support that organization with money, resources, help, organizational skills, and stuff like that. And on the MLH website, I don't know about now with COVID, it's kind of a hard time, but on the MLH website, you can browse all the different basically all the different hackathons that are on like coming up, and you can join them. And also hackathons, by the way, like normally traditionally they're done in person, but you can also make them like online and like week long or month long hackathons. So I would call them, they're like hackathons in the style of learnathons. They're like a mix of the two basically. All right, do you have some resources for hackathons? Alex wrote 14. I'm not sure what this means. Maybe you were answering one of my questions, but oh yeah, you're calculating how old I was, I guess. Sorry, taking a sip of water. Steven, one of my big worries wanting to study at CSI Uni is getting bored because I already have coding experience. What was that? Was that how you felt? Actually, no. I feel like it was great because I personally am super passionate and sorry, and interested about all those things. So like listening to my operating system class and all that, I think it wasn't boring. You go to the classes and you'll for sure learn stuff. Like for sure go to the classes because those teachers will go in depth, right? It's a class. When you read a Medium blog post about something, you'll learn only the basics and you won't go in depth. And so the teacher will go in depth, and I feel like it's actually even more interesting because you really don't struggle to understand some concepts, and it makes it more fun in the sense that you don't need to study that much and you understand stuff and it comes quickly. And so I don't think it's a worry at all. You're gonna love it if you like to code and you have coding experience. It just makes it more of a breeze, honestly. And at the same time, like I was saying before, it gives you so much more time to go back home, and instead of playing Valorant or something, you can work on personal projects and work on things like Curious and stuff like that. So having all that extra free time is a blessing because you can go to hackathons, you don't need to study on the weekend or something, and so you'll be able to do more stuff outside of school. Did you team up with people from other fields to work on any school projects, mechatronics eng, people taking business, industrial eng? I personally have not. Let me think. No, I personally have not, but that would be very cool. And theory of mind, do you mind expanding on that? Do you mean for like a startup? Do you mean for an actual school project? Um, not sure exactly what you mean, but no, I personally haven't. I've only been with other software engineering students for school projects. For stuff outside of school, obviously, I've teamed up with a bunch of type of people. Okay, thank you. I know a lot of people will go with no knowledge, but thank you for your advice. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So a lot of people will go in without knowledge to software engineering, and that's absolutely fine. And and it's great. Honestly, software engineering is a great field. I just really believe in the fact that you need to be curious and you need to go above and beyond to excel in the field. Whether you start with prior knowledge or not, it really doesn't matter. But to just not be that, like I keep on saying, that cookie cutter student. Specifically in high school, what extra things do you do to increase your chance of getting internships or learn more about SWE? Specifically in high school, honestly, like I really like the name of this organization. It's all about being curious. It's like you ask yourself, like, let's say this morning you wake up and you send a text to not a text because that's using cell phone signals, but you send a snap to your friend and then you wonder like, hey, how does Wi-Fi communicate? Like, how does Wi-Fi work? Like, how do we magically send things through our phones, and you may know a high level, you may not, but watch a video, learn, read a oh my god, an article, basically do anything to increase your understanding of just these ways that computers work, because a lot of things are concepts that come back. Yeah. Like when I was young in high school and playing around with the command line, right? This may sound stupid and it's very script kiddie and you're kind of like playing around with the command line and doing cool things, But actually when you're a developer older, all those things are really important. You use the command line often. So if you already know how to work your way around the command line and how like each command line is running its own process and you can run sub processes from those command lines, small things when you're hacking about and you're young, um, all those things will make you much better suited to directly jumping into the field and just being more ready at those things. So if I would recommend something right now, maybe take maybe do it a little more organized than me, and instead of learning absolutely everywhere, just be curious, read up on stuff, and maybe like enroll in like a small coding basics class. So like something like an easy language like JavaScript or Python, a language that's very approachable. Do like a code academy of it, or like any interactive learning, and that's going to be great, because once you get the fundamentals of code with one language, all those fundamentals transport to every other language. So it's absolutely beneficial to start earlier if you want to. Um, and yeah, in high school, like think about it. It's tell yourself, and the best way, if you actually want to go as far as making a project, you tell yourself, okay, I want to build this. I want to build this app to take notes. So then you're gonna need to you physically can't like spawn an application out of nothing. You're gonna need to learn all the things to make that application. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to make that application, and then you learn all those things, and then you can show your friends and put it on your CV for CGEP and stuff like that, put on your Facebook and on your LinkedIn and stuff like that, that really builds your knowledge and obviously your network. And my point being, like, if you tell yourself you're going to do this project, first of all, it's very rewarding once it's done, but second of all, you're going to learn all those things to get there. So I would say in high school, just be curious, and if you can, enroll in a small CS class, a certain language or something. Is there a difference between the time needed to graduate between CS and SWE? Is there an extra study after you graduate? I don't know what you mean by an extra study after you graduate, but between CS and SWE, yeah, usually CS, so computer science, is 3 years, and well, at least here in Canada, well, in Quebec, um, computer science is 3 years, and software engineering is 4 years, because you have that extra year of those math and ethics classes, the equivalent of a year. Yeah. Not just anything. I've heard some uni departments team up to give students more opportunities to work on larger projects. Thanks for answering. Oh, no worries. Yeah, so basically, yeah, I think on your capstone project, that's probably as far as you're going to go. Capstone project, you'll probably work with other people and you'll work with companies outside, at least for Concordia, but maybe other universities make you team up with other people. That's cool. But like I'm saying, you can always team up with who you want. If you have a friend in another department and he's a mechanical engineer, like build an Arduino that like does automatic CPR or something. Like personal projects for the win, and just put it on your CV and show it to employers, and they'll want to hire you in a heartbeat. Do you recommend learning multiple languages at the same time, such as Python or Java? Or should I focus on one until I completely grasp all of it? That's really interesting and very controversial. I would say you focus on one for multiple reasons. First of all, once you're good with one, like actually really proper good with one, you can build really cool things with one, versus kind of being okay with two, and then you can build okay things in both of them. First of all. Second of all, you need to be really good with one language for your technical interviews. You need to kill that. Like, you need to know that language like crazy, and all the little quirks about that language, because you will be absolutely grilled by your interviewer if you don't know those things. Like obviously you have lots of time before that, but like, let's say the time complexity of popping something out of the array or pushing something at the front of the array, like what is that implementation in that specific language? Like, you need to get really good with one specific language, I believe. So first of all, you'll be able to build really cool things, and second of all, you'll be able to build really cool things, be good at interviews, and the last thing I would say is if you have a really good fundamentals on one language, it is much easier to learn those other languages. If your foundation for one language is kind of crooked, then learning another language is going to be more difficult and understanding those higher level concepts. So I would say, work on one language. For internship at Google, did you have an interview? Oh yes, Google is one of the companies that has the most intense interviews. I had a total of 5 interviews, 6, 5, I think 5, and one of them was non-technical. 4 of them were technical. So yeah, so for the big boys, the big companies, the FANG companies, the Silicon Valley ones, you're gonna need to prepare heftily. You're gonna need to know your data structures and your algorithms and your uh, your language of choice. But like, don't let any of that scare you. Like, the first step is getting your foot into the door and actually getting an interview, and that's by having a CV and going to hackathons and having those projects and learnathons and what did you learn, what did you work on, and then once you're there, you'll have time to prepare, and it comes with time, and it's either you just have it or you practice a lot, and anybody can get in. It's That's the joy of software engineering. Um, but yeah, you have a lot of time, and trust me, with time, you get used to languages and get used to patterns of how certain questions are asked and what you're supposed to do with them. So you'll get it. It's not that bad. I think someone asked this question before, but I didn't hear it. Is it always interesting during your university year, or sometimes it was boring when learning to be software engineer? Oh, 100%. There are so many boring times, like so many. I hate math. Like, there is a popular saying that, like, if you're a good coder, you're good at math. I hate math, and I absolutely, like, I'm trash at it because I never do my exercises. Um, that's super boring for me. There's like the ethics classes that obviously are necessary, but they're not very fun. There's like the do you know how to, like, the English technical writing that's super boring, or like the formal methods in software engineering that's super boring. Like, there's obviously super boring classes, but the core computer science, but exactly. So to me, it's the engineering side classes that were more boring. Some of them are fun, obviously, don't get me wrong, but yeah, they're necessary if you want to be an engineer, and so you just push through them. Like, you're only there for 4 years, and most of your classes are fun. So you have maybe one boring class per semester. You just take it, and they're usually not that difficult. Maybe math is difficult for me, not gonna lie, but just do your exercises and you're good. No worries. Which language is the best to start with, in your opinion? Um, I started with JavaScript. Um, I don't know if I would still recommend JavaScript, because JavaScript is extremely approachable, because it's an easy language to learn, and it will let you do mistakes and it will just run like it doesn't care. But then once you're running it, you'll run into like really weird things where something is not the type that you were expecting, because there's absolutely no enforcement. It's like going to that house. It's like going to your friend's house that the parents are not strict at all. Like, it's really cool at the beginning and like super fun, but then after 2 weeks of just eating candy at night and you want to throw up, you're not really having a good time, if you know what I mean. It's not that bad, but like, once you once you get into more statically typed languages and more efficient languages, you kind of see the downfalls of it. But it's very approachable language, so I would say either that or Python. Oh, but JavaScript is really cool because you can build an entire front end and an entire backend with JavaScript. And so okay, if your goal is to make an artificial, like, let's say, ask yourself this question: what is the first personal project you think you're going to work on? If it's something purely backend, AI, data science, or like um, analyzing of something, or I don't know what, something that doesn't have a front end, I'd say go with Python. And obviously learn Python 3 directly. Do not learn deprecated stuff. That is a bad call. Um, but if you're going to go with something that is more of a web app, so it has a front end and a back end, I would learn JavaScript, because then you can use Node.js to build your application, the front end and the back end, in the same language, and it kind of helps you prototype and get up and running quicker. So yeah, if you're going to do that, I would go with JavaScript. How do you come up with projects to improve your skills in programming language? Honestly, like literally anything. Like, so if you want it to be useful or you want to make money with it one day, obviously you might want to think more about your idea. But if it's just to learn something, you can. Sorry. What I was saying. If you just want to learn something, you can take any idea that already exists and just redo it in your own words or in your own terms or with your own kind of twist or your own UI. Like, if it's just for practice, you could do something that already exists, but literally do things that sound fun to you to build and something that would be useful for you. Like, one of the first things I kind of helped my girlfriend build was something that would text her every morning, like an actual like SMS, and just tell her what the weather was like and maybe a suggestion of what she should wear or something. Like, literally just build anything that will and force you to learn multiple things along the way, even if it takes a little bit of time. But don't make it overly complicated, obviously, and try to get up and running fairly quickly. But literally anything. Like, let your creativity run wild. You just need to have something to do and do it. It can exist already, it can not exist, it could be useless, it could be fun, it could be useful. Just create a GitHub repo and start coding and get it to work. Because honestly, guys, when it's your first couple personal projects, sorry, no, even today, it's so fun finishing something. Like, that's why that's why software engineering is so freaking great. Like, you can build anything. Well, congrats, Steven. You just got offered an internship interview. If you want to say, you can say where. Very very much congrats, Genetech. Oh yeah, very good company. Can't remember if I interviewed there or not on my first round, but very very good job. Anyways, so yeah. So what was I saying? Just work on whatever you want to. Honestly, that's all I have to say. Literally something that interests you and you want to do. And how do you come up with the project? Like, if you really can't come up with anything, just copy something that exists that you really want to kind of do with your own twist, or just think of something that you want in your life or something funny or anything. Is HTML as useful as Python? Python is more widely used, right? So HTML is not a programming language, technically. That's a fairly common misconception. HTML is a markup language, so it's like YAML or forget the other one. Anyways, it's just there's no logic in HTML. So HTML, what it's useful for, it's just basically the backbone of kind of the bone structure of a web page. So you will need to use HTML with time, but you're going to see that it's very easy. And once you understand the logic of like programming languages or scripting languages such as Python or JavaScript, um, it, HTML is going to come extremely easily to you. So I would go with JavaScript or Python as a first language instead of well, you can learn HTML, but like my point is with HTML, you really can't do much. It's like CSS. You just there's no logic. There's no if else while loops. There's no flow of data inside of HTML. It's just a markup language. Alrighty. Any other questions, guys? It's been great. Ask away. You guys can unmute and talk to me if you want, right? Like, I'm not gonna bite and or it's I've been speaking alone for an hour. I think my parents are gonna ask me some questions.
I mean, I can talk. Okay, Mike. Where do you see yourself in the future? Like, do you plan on sticking to Google, or maybe you want to launch your startup? Because I know you have some startup experience, right?
Yeah, great question. I honestly don't know what exactly I want right now, but it's probably along the lines of CEO of Google or I'm looking very, very long term and with very broad ambitions. No, like a high position at Google or any of the big tech companies, or having started my own startup. Yeah, I love entrepreneurship, and that's lots of fun.
Yeah, same man. So like if like cuz that's also something I want to like go into. Do you recommend like I was thinking combining computer science with like another like business kind of degree. Would you recommend that?
Yes, if you can handle both, obviously. But yeah, good call. A lot of software engineers actually do their MBAs after they're done their bachelor's, so their masters in business administration, to kind of have that business side of things, to be able to like manage people and stuff like that, and or to manage a business. So yeah, very good idea. I'm just is would it be like a double major, or you'd be minoring in one of those two?
Yeah, probably a minor. Like I haven't decided yet, but that's what I'm
Okay.
considering.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I would recommend that. As long as you're not missing any of the core computer science stuff, because a lot of stuff you learn in at school is very important. It's some core stuff. Um, then yeah, go for it.
Yo, have you ever
Shoot for the stars.
skipped classes because like you felt like you already knew the class and you wouldn't learn anything? Have you ever done that?
Um, yes,
Yeah,
often, but I'm not a
often.
great reference.
Like
Um,
for example, like I saw like for example, I go on YouTube sometimes to learn, and like I see like there's a class on Git, and I would if I already know like most of Git, so I would probably learn something new, but it'd be like maybe 10% or 15%. So in your opinion, should I still go to that class?
like you're saying, there's a Git class, and then you're seeing one on YouTube, and then you're like, too bad, I should watch it on YouTube.
No, I'm saying that video on YouTube is like let's say a real class about Git, and it's one class or like one or two classes. I have no idea how it's like, but like you've already coded a lot before, so you use Git a lot. Would you still go to that class? Like,
I would, because a lot of times in software engineering, when you learn something, and I'm putting learn in between quotations, you kind of learn the basics and just what you need right now for the project or the something that you're working on right now. So going into that class will give you a deeper understanding of how it works, and also like different things that you can use. Maybe you weren't using the right command or something like that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you still go.
yeah, okay. That it wasn't really a good question. Alex had a question for what startup
Yeah.
Canada. So
What is Startup Canada? So Startup Canada is a government-backed organization that promotes and rewards entrepreneurs in all of Canada. And so basically, they have like, I'm pretty sure they have um, like money to invest into startups, and they throw events for networking for startups and help startups with connections and stuff like that. And they're basically there to just like help the startup community in Canada. And also, well, I guess they hand out awards to the like key people in each province.
so I
So
mi-
what I won was the sorry.
sorry, I missed the beginning of the workshop. I was wondering how you got into Startup Canada. Sorry if I caught your train of thought,
No,
but I was
no,
gonna
no,
ask
no.
that.
How it works for Startup Canada is you need to be someone needs to nominate you to, like, you don't get in really. It's just, this is a body that just exists, and they do things in the startup community. And you just need to be nominated if you want to, like if you want to win that specific award. Like, there's different awards. There's like the best entrepreneur, um, entrepreneur from a minority. There's like a bunch of different awards. Me and my friend won the young entrepreneur one. But basically, just someone needs to nominate you. You just need to be nominated, and we actually don't know who nominated us. It was done anonymously, so
Damn.
I have no
Okay.
idea.
And what project did you? Was it from a hackathon or just like was it an actual startup?
So usually it's on the person itself. So us, it was like recognizing all of our different entrepreneurial efforts. But to name you a few, like it's just the entrepreneurial spirit in general. Like the app I made when I was young, put on the Play Store. I actually founded the I think it was dropped and switched to another one. You'll know this, Stephen, but I founded the programming club in CEGEP when I was
Hmm.
there at Brebeuf.
Yeah, you founded the CJEP one.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then what was I going to say? Yeah, and then Sober AI was the basically the major part of why we won. So Sober AI was a startup that we've kind of dropped now because on a technical level, it's difficult to we would be able to implement it, but we need resources that are almost impossible to get. So anyways, to not bore you with the details, that startup was basically an artificial intelligence web app where you take a picture of someone's face and you could instantly know if they're high or drunk. And that was to basically help policemen detect people that are under the influence while they're driving, so they would get stopped, and then you would use our web app to you didn't need to do like all those tests and like those stand up and like blow into this thing and stuff, like blow into this, I don't know what they're called, the things to detect if you're drunk or not. Basically you would just take a picture of someone's face and it would know if that person's drunk or not, and it was already fairly accurate. We built that at a hackathon, but to make it like Canada level accurate, we needed to we actually, it's funny, we needed a lot of pictures of people high because that's how you train a neural net, like yeah. And so we just needed a lot of pictures of people high, and it was almost impossible to get. We actually approached Aurora Cannabis about it, and they wanted to help us, but it was difficult because like we would literally need to hand out weed to people, make them smoke, and take pictures. Anyways, it wasn't feasible, but the technology is there. So as if I would have a data set of high people, I know this sounds stupid. If I would have a data set of pictures of people high, this would work, and it's actually much more accurate than, especially for the high people. For drunk people, there's the breathalyzers. Oh, that's what they're called, breathalyzers. They exist and they're fairly accurate, so that's okay. But for high people, there isn't a very accurate instrument. The one that's sold right now is actually really inaccurate, and 40% of the time in cold, it's going to give false positives, which is horrible. Like you can get incarcerated for that. And so our solution was actually like pretty sick, but we need pictures of people high. Yeah, it's different for every person. So, Alex, little 1 minute crash course on artificial intelligence and neural networks. So, how neural networks work? Well, usually, like neural networks, like for pictures and stuff like that. So, I'm grossly like like uh, make simplifying this, but for neural networks, especially for pictures and stuff, you feed it thousands and thousands of pictures, and it will actually learn on micro patterns that humans can't even see, and it'll be able to detect if a person is high or not, even if it's different per person. So, like I see what you mean, that people look different when they're high, but with a large enough data set, you'd be able to detect that. So, for example, in China, there is a neural network that is able to detect with a picture of your face. I don't know if you've heard of this, if you're gay or not, if you're homosexual or not. And like that's incredibly insane. Like I'm a human, and just with someone's face, like even with other things, I can never assume if someone's homosexual or not. But there's an artificial intelligence in China that, with a big enough data set, it's like over 80% accurate. Like it's not perfect, obviously, but over 80%. That's disgustingly high. Like I'll try to find the article and maybe send it after. Maybe my numbers are wrong, but point being, it picks up on micro patterns that we as humans are not able to pick up on, and so it would just know. But there's also like basic features like um, having glossy eyes and red eyes and stuff like that that it would probably pick up on, and those are major key factors it would look at probably. How or why did you learn machine learning or AI? Honestly, it just interests me so much that you can do all these things with machines and like give them human behavior that I love. I love I just love the possibilities AI give. And so how did I learn? Just by, once again, you tell yourself you're going to do this project that's going to do this, and then you have to learn everything along the way. And obviously you're going to have to learn some fundamentals. You watch some hour-long YouTube videos, stuff like that, to get those fundamentals, and then use tools that already exist to build your own AI, or use AI. You can even use tools that already exist. Let's say you want to use Microsoft's Azure Vision API, so you can make it do all the heavy lifting for you, and then you can harness the power of Microsoft's AI, because your AI is probably not going to be as good, and so that way you use the AI. So you can learn by going on the internet and stuff like that. And I just learned because it interests me so much. Not going to attend a CS program in uni, but still very interested in possibilities coding offers. Is there any way to compensate the lack of structure when self-learning? Sometimes I really feel all over the place, especially at the start of a project. Yes, 100%. Very good question. And I think that depending on the level of thing I'm working on, or anyone's working on, that's something people struggle with every day. Like, even, let's say me, the project I was thrown on at Google, like, it was technically very difficult, and at the beginning you feel extremely lost. Good question.
I mean, if I could give my input, for
Yeah,
me,
go.
how what I would recommend for a beginner is just get the foundations. And once you have the foundations, you at least have an idea of what you're lacking for this project. So then you have, you're more familiar with the problems that you're going to encounter. So for example, I I wanted, at first I did mobile development, but then I wanted to go into web, and I wanted to go into machine learning. So the first thing I did was take a few courses. So courses are more my type. So that way I built that foundation. And then when you go into the project, there's going to be more specific things, but these are going to be smaller problems that you're going to run into. And then I know like where to go to. I understand how to go to documentation. I know I have a better understanding of the specific problems. For your case at Google, I think it's less relevant, especially for the people in this Discord server, because we're all still like pretty much high school CGEP students. So your kind of problem, I think it's more for like people who have years and years of experience at university, I guess. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but I feel like the fundamental part of just being lost in what you're learning kind of stays,
Mm,
even if you're learning different things or at different levels.
mm.
But yeah, just like Steven said, just I think it's important you, when you're starting that project, before you actually literally start writing lines of code, at least define what tools you're gonna need, or libraries or APIs. So like, know, okay, I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna need that, I'm gonna
Yeah,
need this, and then, like Steven was saying, just know what you like. Just know what you know, and know what you don't know. Like, make sure you keep track of all that, and then learn the fundamentals of those things you don't know, and then make them communicate and just make them work.
because
Like, it is all over the place, but
yeah,
like I've been saying, those patterns that you're going to see repeat themselves as you do your first, second, third, fourth project. A lot of patterns are going to repeat themselves, so every time you're doing a new project, let's say the second time you're doing it, you're not going to concentrate on, oh, I know how to export a variable for my server to be able to use it in another file. So you're going to know that part, and now you're going to interest yourself more, like, oh, how can I make this class extend this class? Or like any other concept that you didn't get the first time and you just kind of copy pasted, you're just going to build on your foundation
exactly,
every
yeah,
time you hack at it.
totally agree with that. I mean, I remember, I'm sure you too, like when we first started, like we had no idea what we were doing, and then slowly and slowly, like now I started in Sec 3 as well, and now I'm in first year CJEP, and there's still like tons of things I don't know, but like there's already some tools that I already used, and then when I learn new things, there's things that come back, such as using the command line. I've used it for like Xcode doing mobile development, and now it's coming back using Angular. So I really think it's just, don't be scared. At first, it's gonna be scary, but just take it slowly and just map out what you don't know, and then start simple, and then you can build on larger and larger projects. Is my recommendation.
Yeah, and then you got people like me or Steven or anyone that's willing to help if you have a question.
Exactly, like
Like,
this server.
anyone over here,
Yeah, we have
anyone
like.
over here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
Like, anyone over here on this call, like, feel free to DM me or anytime with a technical or non-technical question. I really don't mind answering. We can even call if you want to talk about something, you want an opinion, or like you, you want a tech lead on your personal project. Like, I really don't mind helping, and I know it's scary sometimes to do it alone. So So yeah.
And like that's the reason I started this like entire curious thing is like when I first started to learn it was also pretty scary and it was a more lonely path, and then my goal with this server is like have a bunch of people together who want to learn and they can share what they learn, and then I wanted to bring in mentors, so if ever you guys have like struggles, like questions you have no idea how to solve, this is like a platform resource for you guys. So we have a channel for you to, if ever you have coding questions, you can just ask them and people are going to be there to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. I commend everything you're doing, Stephen. Very, very good. Yeah. Very, very good platform. I'm 21, I think. Yeah, 21.
It's
So
close
I just finished
to
my second year of university.
it's close to 8:50. I think we you can close it off here. If like we can take some final questions, but it was supposed to be 1 hour, but I think we're having
Yeah.
awesome conversation. So let's see if there's any final questions, or else you can end the workshop with like some final words.
Yeah. Well, if no, does anyone have any final questions? Oh, I see someone typing. I see two people typing. Oh, no worries. And Boots, I just saw your message. No, no worries. I love doing this. So ask me if you have questions anytime. Thank you. I appreciate it, Alex. I hope my voice was nice and smooth with this Yeti mic.
Feel free to plug your links, Nick, and your podcast. You know, from last time. If you still
Yeah,
want
no,
to, if you're still doing
no.
it this year.
Uh, Wait, what's my LinkedIn?
Yeah, you should plug your LinkedIn. I mean,
Uh,
you encourage everyone to start their LinkedIn, so they encourage them to connect with you. I mean, I can plug mine as well if you guys want to connect with me.
Thank you very much to all of you guys. Like I'd be talking to a wall if you guys were not here. So I appreciate you guys appreciating the workshop. But here's my LinkedIn if ever you want to connect and you have questions. No worries to everyone saying thanks. Black or silver? I don't understand the question. Is it reference to a game? Is that like a? I may sound incredibly stupid right now, but is that a? Oh my god, what's the game called? League of Legends reference? No. Oh, the Yeti mic. I have this. The I have the gray one. It's not black, and it's not. It's not like the silver one. My friend has a silver one. It's like grayish. Anyways, yeah. So if you guys don't have any more questions, like I'll continue reading chat afterwards, but I'll end the call here. But basically, I'll just end it with good luck. It's an extremely open field, and we open you with massive arms wide. Sorry, with arms very wide. And if you have any questions, reach out. And good luck. It's an incredible field, I believe, and I find it software engineering is something to be incredibly passionate about, and you can make a living out of it. So it's very cool. Anyways, have a beautiful night and stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.